Good morning, everyone. Let's get this over here. Welcome to another Apex Networks webinar. Today we're going to be covering remittances. Let's get this up here. There we go. Before we get into that, just to let everyone know, today's webinar is being recorded, just like the last webinar, so it will be getting uploaded to our YouTube channel afterwards, so if you ever need to refer back to it, you can do. Let's get this on. So my name's Jamie, I'm one of the support engineers here at Apex Networks. I've been here for just a year now, so if you've called up in that last time, there's a good chance you've probably spoken to me. And I'm joined here by Mark Madgwick.
Morning everybody, my name's Mark Madgwick. I am Customer Success Manager at Apex and I'll be fielding your questions afterwards.
There we go. So what we're going to be covering in today's session, we're going to be covering an overview of the 3 different types of remittances within RMS. We're going to show you the best practices to accurately remit those, as well as how to import data and just a quick cover on exporting as well. So the first thing we need to cover off is what actually is a remittance. So a remittance is essentially a checklist to mark off what you've been paid, allowing you to keep track of any outstanding invoices. It's that simple. Let me bring up RMS here. There we go. So the first bit we're going to cover is the 3 different types of remittances. So these can be found in within our sales accounts, which will be found in setup at the top here, financial, and sales accounts. Click on a sales account of your choice. And what you want to do is head over to the 3rd tab, the financial tab. Within the first section here of the financial section, you'll find remittance type. Here is the 3 different types of remittances. So by default, it will be no remittance. So if you haven't actually gone in here and touched it, it will, without question, be no remittance. So there's not really any reason you would use no remittance unless it's for a cash account. So the reason why you would use no remittance for a cash account is because you'd have already been paid for the job. There's no need to come back later and remit it off. That's essentially it. Required remittance. So all invoices, or all sales accounts rather, that are set to required remittance will now appear within the remittance screen, which we'll cover shortly, as well as all invoices will appear in the remittance report, which we covered in the last webinar. If you wanted to, we won't be covering that here, but if you would like to have a look at it, you can find it in our previous webinar. So whenever you go to export your accounts, all sales accounts or invoices that were set to required remittance will export over as well. However, it will only do it once. So if later on you go to do a part payment on it, or if you remit it off, it won't export to your accounts package again. It will just do it the one time. That covers required remittance. Quick brief of it. Self-bill. It's a little bit more complicated, but it works very similar to required remittance for the most part. It will also show in the remittance screen, as well as the remittance report. But unlike required remittance, it doesn't show the invoice total with VAT before VAT. Remittance values are shown in gross because the values will be adjusted. The main reason why you would use self-bill over required remittance is for work providers that kind of tell you how much they're going to pay you as opposed to paying the invoiced amount. So with self-bill, it will not export to your accounts package until it's been fully remitted. So it allows you to adjust the values to the amount that is in your accounts package, so it all marries up when it goes over. Okay. So let's show the best practice is for remittances. So to find your invoice remittance is under invoicing at the top. 3rd one down, invoice remittance. So, let me get up there we go. Here's a test job I made earlier. So, the best practice for when it comes to remitting, required remittance, is you'll be given by the work provider a remittance number. If you haven't been given a remittance number, you just want to put the date that it's been paid. So up here, you can see the recovery call out as for £24, uncommitted remittance. So until fully paid. You'd put in here the amount that's been paid, or if it's been fully paid, you can just put fully paid. Someone asked before, what's the difference between fully paid and remittance complete? That's more really for the self-bill, which we'll cover in a moment, but essentially, if someone's not paid you the full amount, but you're happy with the amount that's been paid, you would do remittance complete, but not fully paid, if that makes sense. So in here, I don't have that. We'll just put the 16th. Save. As you can see, this now turns to paid. And at the top, there'll be a waiting to commit. If you just click the commit button, commit all remitted transactions, which would be the one I just done. And it's as simple as that. It will remove that amount from the outstanding and it will be gone, fully remitted. Don't have to worry about it anymore. Self-bill is a little bit more complicated because there's a few different steps you might take. But the first thing you want to do with self-bill is if you go to the side menu and circle the 3 lines top left, and what you want to do is you want to change the invoice date to the date that you're remitting for or the date you've been paid. Let me get up the invoice for this one. 212. This one here. Okay. So there's 3 different things that you might do when it comes to self-bill. So you've either been underpaid, but you're not intending on following up on how much you've been paid. You've been underpaid and you are intending on following up to get the remaining money, or you've been fully paid. So if you've been underpaid, but you're not intending on following up, you want to open up the invoice within invoice remittance, which will be here. You want to untick the fully paid. Tick the remittance complete. Down here, you will see a little gold coin. If you click on that at the bottom, you can adjust the values within here to how much you've been paid and then save it. You then want to add the remittance number if you've been given it, or if you don't have that, just put again the day's date and then you can save it. And that would be that. The second case is you've been underpaid and you are intending on following up. So in this instance, you would untick fully paid. You would untick remittance complete if it was ticked. Add the amount you've been paid so far within here. So say you've only been paid £10. You would enter the £10. Add your remittance number again or date, and the system will show that it's outstanding. So let me put 16th. You see it's been part paid there. Obviously, if it's fully paid, you can just open it up, tick fully paid, tick remittance complete, add the remittance number or date, or both if you want, save, pay complete, and then you can commit it. Simple as that. Next part I'm going to show you. So say doing remittances can be rather time consuming, especially some work providers, they'll send over hundreds of remittances at one time. It can be very time consuming doing that exact process of just showing you over and over and over again. You can import remittances. And it will do it all for you. The way you do that, if you go to invoicing, invoice remittance again. As you can see at the bottom, there's an import remittance data. Let me just get up a sales account. Here, this bottom found at the bottom, it will give you a nice instructions on how to do it. You essentially just get the CSV file by selecting in here. I select file, put your remittance number, and process it. The part that's important, so as you can see, there is requirements inside that form. You must have a job date in any format. So you need an identifier. So an identifier can either be the vehicle reg, the job order number, or the invoice number, and then the amount of the invoice with any currency sign. So they're the 3 columns you need. I do have a little example one here for you. Just bring this up. Here we go. So obviously I've put anomalous number plates in it, but you get the idea. This would be the identifier, and then it has the values in there as well for each individual order. And that should, if you was to import that, it would mark all of those off for you. Just going to quickly cover the accounts export. So the first thing you want to do before you do an accounts export is ensure that the system is set to your accounts package. That can be found, the circle on the three lines in the top left. Settings, companies, select the company that you want, and under accounts export, at the bottom here, you'll find invoice in file format. You can have multiple options. Say, for example, using 0, you would select 0 and save it. Let me close that. Afterwards, we can go to the invoicing at the top of the main recovery screen and accounts export. Now, what you want to do for an export is just click the nice export data button. You want to set the date correctly beforehand. If you wanted to export for today's date, then you would need to set this to the 17th because it doesn't include the date that's put in here. What it will do is export all invoices between that date and the previous one. So here it would essentially do 2 months worth of invoices in one go. There we go. Theirs is just a test system, so I don't have any to do. What you want to do is just download the file, and then you can import that Excel document directly into your accounting package. Now, if you are to change from 0 to QuickBooks or whatever it may be, that's not a worry. All you need to do is go back exactly where I showed you before, in companies, and change it to, let's just say, QuickBooks, save. Now, say you've been using RMS for a number of years or however long it may be. Say you need to import all your old ones, but you're worried, that I did those ones with Sage previously. It's not a concern. If you've changed your accounts package within there, all your previous and historic exports, when you re-download them, will be in the new format, so you can just re-upload them there. There we go. That covers everything we're going to demonstrate today. So we've given an overview of the 3 different types of remittances, the best practice for accurate remittance processing, and importing remittance data, as well as exporting financial statements. So we'd love to hear your feedback. Obviously, these are driven by you. The reason we did remittance today is because it was actually requested by one of you. So if you could obviously just leave your comments within here, or if you can leave us a Google review to let us know how you feel, that would be very much appreciated. So I'm going to hand you over to Mark here for any of the questions we may have had throughout the webinar.
Hi there. We had a couple of questions in. There are 1 or 2. If I don't answer your question, it's because it's something that needs to be dealt with specifically on your system, and I'll come back to that. I'll contact you afterwards to clarify the details on that. One of the questions we had in were, and you've gone over this briefly already, what is the difference between remittance complete and fully paid? Fully paid will equate to remittance complete fairly much. You only use the remittance complete and untick the fully paid box if the job value is agreed to be different from the original invoice value. Exporting invoices. We've had a question, how do we go about exporting invoices and how to load it into QuickBooks or other accounting software? This is done quite easily. Jamie's gone over it briefly. I'm sure he can go over it again quickly for you. On your RMS system, you need to go to the menu button, top left-hand corner. Go to settings, then companies, and open up the company details that you're using there. And down at the bottom there, it will show you your accounts export. There are quite a few in the drop down there. So there's drop down list there Jamie's just showing us, thank you. And that will show you the different formats that it can set your system up to do your export. The only thing with this is it can't do it retrospectively. So when you do your export, it'll only be once and once alone, and it won't do it retrospectively. Also been asked, RAC often do part pay, sometimes 2 or 3 times. What is the best method to log all of this information? If you go in and while you're doing your remittances there, if you add each part payment in there and commit the part payment, that will show what's committed and also what's outstanding for you afterwards. And you can do multiple part payments in any remittance. And then in the notes box there that Jamie's just indicating there, just note down in there what you were paid, and well, you'll see what you were paid when it was paid, and on the remittance note that payment was on. So that sort of wraps up fairly much the questions that I've got. Jamie, back to you.
Lovely. So the last part is just a sneak peek at the next webinar. So we don't have an exact date for it yet. However, it will be next month. We're going to be covering the HR module with a couple of different varieties in there in terms of stuff like rotas as well as policy documents. Yeah, so keep an eye out for any emails for the upcoming webinar. That concludes today's webinar. I hope you all learned something, took something away from today, and I hope to all hear your feedback. And again, if you want to suggest another webinar for the one after this HR module, please do. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good day.